So the first answer to that is always I create space. Those things are, all of them are extremely important for me. And there is a saying in French that say, quand on veut, on peut, which really means when you want something, you will make it happen. I think as long as it is important and part of the intention, then anyone can create space. What made the big difference for me is when I really understood and prioritized what was important to me. The moment that we're able to clarify and to express very clearly what is important to us, it's almost like the universe is helping us to understand who else can help. So I don't do all of this on my own. I have a lot of partners around me. I think the support as well that we are able to create around us is important. And it's also coming down to asking for help when it's needed.
Welcome back to the Juggleverse, where we celebrate the beautiful chaos of women who don't just balance, they orchestrate life's wildest symphonies. Today, meet Julia Gorman, executive commercial strategist and sales leader in fintech with 20 plus years across private banking, investment banking, and startups, co-founder of child protection startup Emlakas, certified Hatha yoga teacher, investor in wellness real estate, and women founders worldwide, and proud mom of 2 teens plus a stepson in a vibrant blended family. She's lived on 3 continents, speaks multiple languages fluently, and calls herself an octopus, thriving in fintech boardrooms by day, forest trails by dawn. Julia doesn't chase balance. She creates intentional flow through high-stakes deals, wildlife expeditions, and holding space for her family's big questions. If you've ever wondered how to lead teams with purpose while fueling your soul and show your kids it's possible, this episode will rewire your approach. Let's dive in. Hello, Julia. Welcome.
Hi, Edith.
Hey. Paint us your wildest octopus day. You're closing a fintech deal. Your teens drop a live bomb, for example, and dawn yoga calls. What's invisible thread makes that flow instead of fracture?
Wow, this is just a description of any days in my life. So I've learned to navigate the flow and to remain in somewhat balance regardless of what life is throwing at me. The way that I've learned this was really through yoga. It has been the foundation of how I live my life today. So it was not always the case, but I have grown into the tradition of yoga and how to apply it to my life. So the life will throw whatever it has to throw at me, and I will take it. And usually what will happen is I will have a moment to not really think, but ground myself. And how do I ground myself? I breathe a lot. It's actually tattooed on my left arm. But yeah, breathing is my powerful tool to manage whatever life is throwing at me.
You said juggling is intentional flow. What's the one non-negotiable morning ritual that turns chaos into your superpower? And what happens when life hijacks it?
Oof. You don't want to cross my path when life hijacks it, for sure.
Tell me.
My children will tell you. So there's really 2 things that are non-negotiable in my morning. The first one is to do at least a few asanas, and that could be anywhere between 10 minutes to an hour if I have the time, which will be before a meditation. So the asanas are non-negotiable, but the meditation is really the non-negotiable points. On top of the meditation, I write every single day. Again, that's an absolute non-negotiable. I write 3 pages, and I have now, I don't know how many dozens of books that I never look back on. So those books are not to be memoirs, or they are not to be books. They are really just for me to put everything that I have in my mind.
Is it in the morning?
It's in the morning.
You start the morning with that?
It's in the morning. That's how I start my morning. I'll do a few movements, I'll meditate, and then I write.
Handwriting?
Handwriting.
Definitely handwriting.
Definitely handwriting.
About your day, your upcoming day?
It could be anything that is on my mind on that day, something that I could have not necessarily digested of the previous day. I have found that I solve a lot of the biggest problem that I have, whether it's, within work or with my family or with friends or whatever I want to solve. It usually solves itself as I write in the morning. So it could be setting up intention for the day. It could be writing a poems, which happen quite often as well. Literally anything. But I do need to write every day.
But you don't share it with anyone else?
Never. This is sacred. It's something that is very well known in my family. The books can be wide laid down on the coffee table. Everyone knows that this is sacred and no one can touch it.
Wow. What's the real pivot muscle you've built, and what myth about global careers should ambitious moms shatter?
I think the single one myth, at least that I think about, that everyone should shatter is that there is one single way, or I'm going to get inspired. And not to say you can't get inspired from others, but every single person has their own way and has one single footprint in this life. For me, learning what is this one single footprint with intention, with the understanding that there is not one single path, that sometimes you will find, and I found myself certainly into places where I didn't know what's going to be my next step. And that's also okay. That failure is completely okay. And in fact, that's probably where we learn the most. And that, again, if someone in multi-passionate, they can go and have as many patients as they want, and they can dedicate themselves to as many different topic and theme as they like. But if someone is just wanted to be a mother, for example, that's equally important as someone who would want to have a career. So I would say, don't necessarily listen to what people want of you, but find your path. And for me, it has been very much my life journey until now, finding my path. I lost myself a few times just to find myself back on the journey.
But it's very difficult to find yourself because sometimes I realize that, the social expectations are so high. It's also an expectation that you always have to juggle.
Yeah, I think.
Don't you feel that?
I do feel that. And for sure, I will say when I have not meditated, or when I feel myself being out of balance, I will notice that. How do I know I'm out of balance? It's when I start to listen to others' expectations. So that's now at 45. Now, when I was 20, or even when I was much younger and I was building my career, I was always extremely ambitious since very young age, if you ask my mother. And I think I can recognize that on my path. I didn't always have, obviously, this idea of balance. I didn't always have yoga tools in my life as well. And I fall into the trap of following someone else's expectation all the way to find that I was a mirror or an image of myself. And I think I had to learn the very hard way that this was not going to be my path. And if I wanted to succeed into my own terms, I would have to break a few rules. And how did I break them? I only had to hear someone to say who actually said so. Which rule is that? Is this yours, or is it a rules that you receive from someone? And I agree, we do receive a lot of rules from others. I'll say especially for women, there's a lot of expectation. Who should we be and how should we be? And especially for career women. Very early on in my life, I was made to believe or understand that I could not, or I should not have the career that I wanted if I wanted to be a mother. That has happened to me. I had to break this rule the very hard way.
You work in a male-dominated sector. It's the fintech sales.
Yes.
When did you realize likability was a trap, and how do you weaponize authenticity instead?
This was a very hard learning as well. And I'll say I probably learned this in my late 20s, early 30s, when I started to step into leadership position. And when I started to step into leadership position, I understood that likability was going to be my worst enemy. And that if I wanted to step up and become who I was willing to become, again, I had to take a step back, or in other words, break a few rules to show up authentically. But what it had requires for me was a lot of self-work. So I did a lot of work on myself to understood what image did I build around me? And it took a lot of work to completely destroy this image, reset, and rebuild.
Have you used any external assistance for that as well, like any coaches or trainings?
Yeah.
Besides yoga?
Besides yoga, yes. I've used coaching. So I've been coached by many different coaches. As I was coached, I also decided to take on an executive coaching course in which you spend 6 months being coached and then another year helping others coaching. So yes, it has been a long journey, and I have received the help of a lot of coaches. I am still coach. I would not live without coaching. I believe that it is important to have someone to help mirror whatever is going on, because as aware as we can be, there is always blind spots. There is always much more than meet the eyes.
What's the rawest, beautiful chaos moment that tested your flow philosophy hardest, so to say?
I don't know what is the hardest or the biggest, but I do know that it's probably in the small things. So I think I won't be alone when I say that I have booked a few times flights. I live an international life. I book a lot of different flights for myself, for work, but also for my children who tend to fly on their own. And there was this moment where I booked a flight and the entire family shows up in the airport. And of course, I had booked on the wrong day. And I know. and so, when those things happen, it has happened a few times now. I've learned that, it has happened. And I've also realized that I needed some help to organize that part of my life. So I've gotten some support. And thanks God we're in Singapore, and the things are probably more accessible than in any other part of the world. But it's one of those moments when I realize how many things were happening, and that even though I thought I had it all sorted out, and of course this was important, this is actually a Christmas vacation, even though it was important, this very big science was here to tell me, yes, it is important, and yet everything falls apart. So, we managed to find a way back. So at the end of the day, it became almost like a family joke or history when mom, is booking us on the wrong day. But that has happened. And there's many more stories like this.
but you can see the signs when these things happening.
Yes, always. I'm always, when that happened, I'm starting to see, okay, I need to do something about it.
And you step back.
And I always step back, yes, because I know I'm definitely not in the flow anymore at that point. Yes.
You raise 3 kids.
Yes.
You mediate siblings debates post-negotiation.
Yes.
And how do you flip from dear closer to heart holder without losing yourself? And what's the family boundary you have fought hardest to defend?
I'm very clear, and I've been for a very long time very clear with my teams and with the team that I lead, but also with executive leadership. So my peers and the team I part on. I'm equally a leader into what I do, and I think I do it very well. And that I'm equally a mother and a wife and a daughter and many different things. But they know. And for that, I have the permission to not attend a meeting unless, obviously, it's always, everything is always negotiable. Actually, in my work, we always are negotiating or renegotiating terms. But dinner and bedtimes, when I am in Singapore, when I am not traveling, is absolutely sacred. So everyone knows that those are the time when it's not a good time for me to have a meeting in the evening, or I will not answer the phone. It's just proven that those are the moments where my kids will be opening up. Dinner table in my family is something that's very important. I'm Franco-Spanish. We meet around food and around the table at night. That's a moment where there's a lot of lightness as well, where we have a lot of laugh. But we also discuss politics and what's happening in the world. So that is definitely an absolute non-negotiable.
Yoga teacher in fintech, when sales pipelines freeze, for example, or teams fracture, what's your so-called 60-second reset sequence that no MBA teaches?
It's breathing. I come back to breathing. I have
Is there situations like that?
There's many situations like that. It happened every single day. where I need to reset. I have learned to reset very quickly. And the way that I reset is through breathing. And it happens, at least 5, 6 times, 10 times during the day. And if I don't reset, I can tell you what happened. Then it becomes real chaos because I would go into probably my worst version of myself. And when I'm not at my best or at my worst version of myself, my team is not able to succeed. For sure, they are not. So again, resetting, taking a step back and completely reset, for me, it goes through the flow of the breath. So it's very physical. I have learned that for me, what works the best, it's a lot of somatic work. So that's also why yoga is important. But one thing that I have not mentioned is that I do a little dancing every morning. And it doesn't take very long. I do 3-4 minutes dancing on one of my favorite songs of the moment. And that creates a lot of lightness. That creates a lot of joy because we want that. There's so much pressure, definitely in my work, but in the world today, that when we have a chance, or at least when I think I have a chance to bring a little bit of lightness through dance, I'll bring it on.
Would you please teach me this breathing technique?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Let's try that. I'm really interested in that.
You are. Wonderful. So I'll invite you to sit with your back very straight. Feel both of your feet on the ground, kind of hip distance apart. Your hands, for me, they're going to be on my legs, but they could be anywhere that feels very comfortable for you. For me, I will close my eyes, but feel free to close your eyes or to leave them open if you wanted to. So we'll close my eyes, and then I would take a deep breath in through my nose, and I will count on the count of 8. So deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And deep breathe out still through the nose on 8 count as well. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I repeat it 2 more times. And exhale. One more time, inhale on 8. And exhale slowly on 8 through the nose. Slowly open your eyes.
I'm reset.
You're reset. It's
Thank
magical.
You.
It takes.
Okay, and it can be applied any time of the day.
It can be applied any time of the day. Sometimes I have found myself before a board meeting or even in the middle of a negotiation to excuse myself to go to the bathroom, to reset and come back.
Beautiful.
Yeah, takes a minute.
MLACAS fights against child exploitation. Women Beyond Limits breaks limits. These aren't side hustles for you. What fire in your past lit this fuse? And how do you protect your energy pouring into both?
MLACAS is really a family story. I co-founded it with my partner, who is from the Philippines. Unfortunately, this is also the epicenter of child abuse and especially online sexual exploitation of children. And it's absolutely horrendous. Learning about the cause is enough, I think, for anyone who will hear the atrocity that happened to those children to be wanting to do something about it. For us, we were lucky that, again, my partner being from the Philippines, he understands a little bit as well about law enforcement, is very connected to the financial system. And very quickly, we started to think about what can we do and how can we help? And both of us are coming from, kind of banking and private banking and investment banking. So we understand banking. Because we understand banking, we understand transaction. And we quickly understood that there was a way to prevent transactions. So that's what MLACAS is really focusing on. It's a platforms that bring together data as well to help the law enforcement go and prosecute the perpetrator but also save the children that are being abused through data and through the flow of this transaction. It's a life work. This is a very dark topic, but the fact that we can do something about it continues to fuel what is probably the fourth baby of the family. It takes a lot of efforts, energy to continue that fight, for sure. I think between all of us now involved within I'm Like Us, we support each other. So it does need to be, or you probably will need to be refueled on the way. But this is a huge purpose that just cannot be forgotten. So yeah, it's this one is a life work. Women Beyond Limits. It's, I want to say, equally important. I have the great privilege of being here in Singapore. I think I've had incredible chance in my life to pursue what I love to do in my career, through commercial negotiation, through fintech, understanding, how the world operates. I think it is one very important thing for me to give back, and Women Beyond Limits is definitely a way to give back. And not just give back, but also show the way and walk the path. The role models that I've had the most impact for me in my life are always the one that I witness doing the work, not really talking about the work, but doing the work. I've had the chance to have very strong role model, whether it's within my family, but also in my career, where I had the chance to work with amazing woman leader in the fintech industry and the banking industry, despite it being very dominated industry.
That's true. And how do you find time for all of these personal, social responsibilities and besides your family and work? Because these are a lot of things that you already mentioned.
They are. And that's a question that I receive a lot. So the first answer to that is always I create space. Those things are, all of them are extremely important for me. And there is a saying in French that say, quand on veut, on peut, which really means when you want something, you will make it happen. And so all of this seems to be a lot, but it doesn't mean that it needs to be every day. And it doesn't mean that it needs to be a lot of time as well every day. So I think as long as it is important and part of the intention, then anyone can create space. What made the big difference for me is when I really understood and prioritized what was important to me. The moment that we're able to clarify and to express very clearly what is important to us, it's almost like the universe is helping us to understand who else can help. So I don't do all of this on my own. I have a lot of partners around me. I have a wonderful team that is working with me in the corporate world. I'm Like Us, we built an amazing team as well. And I'm a co-founder, but I'm only now a non-executive director at the board. So I'm not running the company. My partner is a Woman Beyond Limit. We have an amazing team around us. My family now, they are teenagers, so they are became very independent, all three of them. That's how we raised them. So it's, I think the support as well that we are able to create around us is important. And it's also coming down to asking for help when it's needed.
You're just back from South Africa.
Yes.
Wildlife fundraising. How does adventure philanthropy recharge you for corporate battles? And tell me something about this expedition you experienced.
Yes. Wonderful, one in a lifetime experience for sure. I have made an intention over the last 4 years now to do an expedition, philanthropic expedition per year. And the reason why I do this, as you just said it very rightly, is that it helps me to reset. We were talking about that a bit earlier as well. It creates some experience that no one can teach you, even in books or that you can read about, to understand what it means to overcome difficulties when you are in the mountain, when you're on those trails, and you're being thrown all sort of completely unknown situation. South Africa was a very good example of this. We had all weather and every day. The Drakensberg is one of the toughest mountains in the world. It's known for this.
Even in temperature, you mean?
Even in temperature. We were going from probably 20 during the day when it was sunny, South African sun, so very strong African sun, to -5 or 10 at night. So there's a very large difference of temperature within the day. One day we had 12 hours of rain nonstop. Everyone came to camp at the end of the day, completely drenched. All that to wake up in the morning under an amazing rainbow and 4 hours of amazing sun, which dried all of our clothes. That same evening, we walked for 12 hours. And at the end of this very, very long day, we had another 2 hours of very drenched rain in the night. But then there was the beauty of the stars, and the skies that you see in South Africa is absolutely unbelievable. I have never seen anything like that. It's the Milky Way is incredible. So there's all of the gift that life and nature is wanting to give you, but there's also all of the hardship. And it almost feels like you need to work through the hardship and let it go to be able to enjoy the rest. So there was so much learning, but definitely the power of the team and how when the ego dissolves, and the ego will dissolve when the team has a very strong purpose and knows exactly what the success means for them. And for us, it was we leave at 11 on day 1. And at the end of day 6 and 100 kilometers walked, we will also be 11, despite the challenges, despite the injuries, despite the sickness of the altitude and everything else. So the ego dissolving, but also there is something to be said about letting go. And this is something that's very difficult for me. I've worked years and I still work on letting go. And, of course, I think we all want to be in control or feel in control. But the reality is no one is ever in control of anything, despite our thinking that we are in control. And letting go of this idea that I am in control is extremely important to give space for receiving the gift and whatever that gift is going to be. In our case, it was let go of the control because you can't control the weather in the Drakensberg. You can't control the fact that everything is going to be wet and the next day you still have to walk another 20 kilometers, is very high altitude. There's a lot of circumstances that are absolutely out of our control. So letting go of that fake idea of control and embracing what is the gift. And in those cases, the gift could be the rainbow in the morning. It could be the sky with this immensity and the beauty of being just so close to nature.
What's the next expedition you're facing?
There's a lot of ideas. Bhutan is on the list. Patagonia is also on the list. And the very famous Antarctica.
Your daughters and stepson see Mom Crush FinTech while flowing through yoga and rhinos.
Yeah.
What's the one unintended lesson they're learning about womanhood? What do you think? And the one you hope they definitely ignore?
What's the intended? That's a very good question that probably needs to be asked to them because I'm not entirely sure
what would they say?
What would they say exactly? What would they say? They'll probably say I'm a beautiful mess because they are seeing everything that is happening in symphony for sure, but they're also seeing that there's a lot going on. And that despite the abundance of opportunity, we still manage to find some sort of way and flow. And it's natural. So I think the unintended is this sort of flow despite the abundance of activity and businesses and family activities and social life that we have. But it's probably... It probably goes along with what I would not want them to necessarily learn, because when I think about it, I don't want it to be a model that you have to be involved in so many different activities to be fulfilled. This is very much a personal thing for me. To be fulfilled, I need to be a maverick in a lot of different areas. I don't like to follow rules, and I break most of them. And by breaking most of them, I also find myself involved into a lot of pioneering endeavors. But it doesn't have to be the model for everyone.
Yeah, but you definitely set an example for them.
Yes, that I might or might not like for them. But we talk a lot about this as well when I say you don't have to follow all my path. The independence path, yes, I think that's very important. for them to be independent, for them to understand what matters to them from that perspective.
Do they have similar characteristics?
Yes.
So it's unavoidable, right?
It's unavoidable.
After a time that they will do the same.
They will do the same. There's many times where I find myself saying, where is this coming from? I don't understand.
Where is this coming from?
Where is this coming from? Well, it's probably coming from my own role models, if I think about it. Not necessarily my mother. I would say it probably comes from different role models. It has been displayed in my life for sure. And I thought a very long time ago that I could do whatever I wanted to do. And I didn't have to follow what people were expecting from me. Come back to one of the earlier questions you said about expectation from people. And why was I able to do that, though? It's definitely because I was allowed. I had permission to do this from both my father and my mother. They allowed me to be me very early on.
As you are talking and I'm observing you, I feel personally that you are really balanced. All the things you are doing, everything, all the mess sometimes, or can be chaotic mess as well, around you, but I feel that you are somehow so balanced, and with a calm you can do everything, right?
Yes, I think.
Is it because of yoga and the breathing technique I learned today?
I'll tell you that I believe it is from yoga, and the breathing helps tremendously. I was not always that calm. I was not always that balanced. If you had known the Julia, 20 years old Julia, I was definitely not as balanced and as calm. But I learned my way through it. I found it in yoga for sure. It's a fundamental tool for me, meditation and breathing, to come down and be really anchored in this earth. And I found so much joy in calming down, in slowing down. I was definitely a very, very, very fast runner much early on in my life. And I found a lot of joy, but also benefits in slowing down. In slowing down the path and calming down. Yeah.
If every listener took one radical permission from you today, build a sales empire, climb the mountain, or finally say no, what would it be and why now?
I think the one thing critical thing for me would be have the permission to be clear about what do you want to do here and now. And be clear about what you want to do here and now doesn't mean that it's going to be for the rest of your life, that it's your life purpose. And we talk a lot about life purpose. It can be very overwhelming for a lot of people. But just, live today. What is important for you now? Because once we understand what's important for us, we set up those intentions, and there's no space for anything else, because all of the doors have closed to what doesn't have space in our orbits, but what wants to have space will find naturally a lot of space. And it's almost a matter of, I've said that before, I found myself sometimes where I didn't know what my next step was. But even though when I not know what my next step is, I know what is important for me now, today. What is important for me today? And sometimes it can just be, I'm going to enjoy today and I'm going to have fun and I'm going to prioritize to have joy and lightness. And in a big negotiation day, the intention will be extremely different, of course. And the grounded and the calm and the power will step in. So I think it's the permission to be clear on what is important for us.
Thank you, Julia, for sharing your thoughts and wisdom with me.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for coming. Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Juggleverse. Julia's journey reminds us all of the power of embracing change, carving out time for ourselves, and sharing laughter along the way. If this conversation resonated, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing your own stories or questions in the comments. Your participation helps build a warm, encouraging community where we all learn and grow together. Until next time, keep laughing, keep juggling, and keep shining brightly. Remember, you are never alone on this journey.